I'm picking Jack Della Maddalena to stop Islam Makhachev at UFC 322, and here's a few reasons why. Number one, Jack Della Maddalena's constant level changes are going to give Islam a problem. Islam is not Marab. He doesn't just shoot takedowns out in the open. He likes to take time, measure his shots, choose his entries wisely, and then go in. Jack Della Maddalena is not going to give him a clear path to shoot in, to understand when it's clear to go in, because he's always changing levels, and that's going to give Islam a ton of problems. The next reason is Jack Della Maddalena's footwork, which ties into reason one, but it branches out even further. Jack Della Maddalena's lateral footwork is actually it's just pretty to watch. And when you watch a fight like his fight with Bilal Muhammad was constantly having to chase Jack Della Maddalena around the octagon, and he couldn't quite pin down where Jack was going to go. Was he going to go left? Was he going to go right? Was he going to pop him straight forward? Didn't quite understand where Jack was going to go with anything. And this leads me to my next point. Not to my next point, but to explain the first two a little more. When you mix together the footwork with the constant level changes, if Islam tries to change levels, there's always a good chance Jack is going to be right there with one hand ready to defend a takedown. Now, Jack likes to keep a nice tight high guard, which would give a wrestler or a grappler like Islam free access to his hips. But because he's constantly dipping low, always changing his levels, his head and lead hand are going to be right there on his shoulder to cause a frame, which will give him extra time to start defending the takedown. You know, the stage one of takedown defense is finding your underhook, and it's a lot easier to do so when your opponent isn't already around your hips. This leads me to explaining the footwork a little more. There's a good chance that while Islam doesn't know where he's going to go and he just tries to dip under, Jack could be level changing and shifting his weight towards the center of the octagon, away from Islam trying to push him towards the fence. But Islam has one of the most dynamic takedown arts we've ever seen. I have to admit that. I'm not trying to be completely biased. I need to stay as objective as possible. Islam has some of, if not the best judo in the history of the sport. And that might be a difference maker. But because he's not going to be able to wrestle his way to a position to where his judo can shine, I think Jack is going to be able to get out of range very easily. Number two, Islam, point three really, Islam doesn't take damage well. In the fights we've seen him really get pushed, he does not take damage well. And I think Jack is going to push Islam to the brink. And that could reopen the cuts from the Poirier fight, reopen the scars and the cuts from the Volkanovski fight, the swelling. I mean, you can see his eye almost swelled shut from the little nothing punches that Volkanovski landed off his back in the fourth round of their first fight. Jack has way more power than Alexander Volkanovski. I don't think it's crazy to say that Jack has more power than Alexander Volkanovski. So why would I expect Islam to be able to take it a little easier? I get he's put on the weight, and the size isn't going to be as big of a factor as people think. But Jack Della Maddalena has some power. He doesn't show it off in the UFC as much. But I've watched every Jack Della Maddalena fight because I was really hyped on him as a prospect leading into the UFC. That dude has some disgusting power. But it leads into my fourth point. He doesn't have to lean on his power much because he doesn't overextend, ever. So Islam can't time that off the back foot. Go back and watch JDM fights. This dude is very rarely ever overextending, even when he's throwing power combinations. Like when he was fighting Bilal Muhammad and quite literally jumping into his combinations, it still quite wasn't enough to really move him off balance He has this seasoned boxer approach to everything. He's so smooth in the way he moves in and the way he moves out. And because he's never really overextending himself, he can keep his power deep into a combination. It's not just the first two punches, it's the fifth and the sixth and the seventh punch of the combination that has just as much power as the first two. And it gives a lot of people a lot of problems. And I think this is going to give Islam a ton of problems. My next point, which is like point 4, is Jack Della Maddalena's constant body work. It really is something to behold. The way this dude constantly works the body. It might be just too much for Islam to deal with. It's not just because of the body shots and oh those hurt and oh you can stop me with the body shots. It's oh I'm trying to level change, bang right in the face. Oh I'm trying to get to the clinch, crack crack right to the body. And normally Islam is able to smother somebody in the clinch to stop those punches from working. But as we saw in the Poirier fight, Poirier was landing those punches in the clinch. Poirier was hurting Islam bad to the body at the end of round 4, and it looked like if that round had 30 more seconds, Islam might have got stopped the body shots. They were brutal, but he's in great shape, so he recovers incredibly well. I will never question the heart on Islam, but it's not a good look when I'm expecting you to fight somebody who has better boxing than Dustin Poirier, better footwork than Dustin Poirier, more power than Dustin Poirier, and probably better takedown defense. It's all the things that I'm going, ooh, that's not good. Another reason, a huge reason, why I think Jack is going to look amazing in this fight and get the stoppage. Watch Islam stand on the feet for extended periods of time. He loves that check left hook. And I'm telling you, it's not just, oh, he throws it, it's his favorite strike. He spams that shit. That shit won't work against Jack Della Maddalena. If Islam starts spamming that check left hook, that lead check hook, Jack Della Maddalena is sliding out of range, sliding back into the range. Bang, bang, bang. Down goes Islam. It's going to be a brutal combination that puts Islam down. And I think that combination is going to come in round 3. I think Islam is really good on the feet, but not as good as what people are making him out to be. People are talking about him like he's Alex Pereira on the feet. Islam has great fundamentals, but it's not the same. He's not a striker. He's a grappler. And he can move forward because he has the threat of the takedown. But the threat of the takedown is not going to be as big a thing in this fight as it is in his normal fights. Because Jack isn't going to give him that level of respect. He's going to have to earn that. And when you're trying to earn that kind of respect, you can't really be on the back foot too much. And when you're fighting a striker like Jack Della Maddalena, you don't want him to be on the front foot. Because that's how they gain their confidence. That's how they find their rhythm, their flow, their style. Really comes from being on that front foot. Really comes from being able to dictate the pace, dictate the range, make their reads. And if Islam gives that kind of stuff to Jack Della Maddalena, that is more than enough. Even if it's for half of round 1, that is too much time to give to Jack Della Maddalena. So he's going to need to take more of a Bilal Muhammad approach, where Bilal Muhammad went after JDM so to stop JDM from going forward. And that's mainly because Bilal doesn't really fight well off the back foot, but also, you can't let JDM get settled. You have to break his rhythm. You have to get in his face. And if you're not going to do that, he's going to get settled, and then the combinations are going to start flying. And I don't know if Islam can handle that. I know Jack can survive at least half a round on his back. I know he can survive some hairy positions. I mean, I watched Gilbert Burns basically lay on top of him for 5-ish minutes. And he found his way back to his feet, didn't give up too much of bad positions. Even when he was in the worst positions, he technically hit the right moves to get back up without giving up his back, got back to range, and started throwing. That's how he was able to finish Gilbert. Every time Bilal Muhammad, which leads into my next point, would fail a takedown or start a clinch situation or try to leave a clinch situation, every single time, go back and rewatch it, I'm not making this up. If I tell you to take a shot every time he does it, but you wouldn't be alive at the end of the fight. Every time Bilal Muhammad initiated the clinch or tried to shoot a takedown, if he failed the takedown, if Bilal got the takedown and Jack worked his way back up to his feet, immediately Jack Della Maddalena was throwing something. And he's not throwing a little jab, he's throwing heavy shots to get their respect back. He's not trying to mess around with these grapplers. He's gonna make you afraid to grapple. It's like he has the threat of defending a takedown. Like, we always talk about how a grappler has the threat of the takedown. Because he's moving forward and level changing so much, he'll level change before a combination, after a combination, in the middle of his combinations even. Because he's level changing so much, it gives the grappler, if you're not a Marab style grappler, who's just going to spam takedowns because he has the infinite cardio to do it, and you're actually trying to make good shots and good reads and look for the time where he's off balance, you're not going to get a clean, good look. You never will. And that's going to genuinely stymie any offense that Islam's trying to mount. This is an uphill battle for Islam Makhachev, and not too many people are giving Jack Della Maddalena the credit for it. Jack Della Maddalena stylistically is kryptonite to Islam Makhachev and everything Islam tries to do. Now, Islam does have incredibly dynamic takedowns. Really good chain wrestling. But Jack Della Maddalena has the ability to stop it from ever getting to that position. And even when Islam does get to that position, is he going to have enough left in him to finish it? Is he going to be able to do enough on top to take the round back after taking that kind of damage? On top of that, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. Islam is not Khabib. I think Islam is technically better than Khabib, but for all that technique comes a whole lot less ground and pound. Islam has good ground and pound, but it's not Khabib's kind of ground and pound. So Islam, when he takes you down, he likes to put you in a situation where you have to choose, do I go left or do I go right? He puts you in a 50-50. Do you try to defend this rear naked choke, or do you give up mount? He'll take your back and give you all these things to think about. I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place. Do I choose bad or even worse? And he's trying to get you to choose even worse because he makes even worse look like a better alternative. Think of the Moicano fight. Moicano was like, oh, I have a free way up. Actually, there's no way up without giving up your back. Bam. Islam's in on the darts. And I think that kind of pressure from Islam could work on JDM. I just don't think it's going to get to that point. I think Jack Della Maddalena is going to beat the fuck out of Islam Makhachev. I don't think this fight will be as competitive as people think. Numbers-wise, it will be. But Jack is not going to wear the damage anywhere near as much as Islam. And I think he's going to get to him with body shots in round 3. I can see the combination now. Jack steps in with a jab, steps out, steps back in, lead hook to the body, right straight down the middle, hurts Islam, and then just goes after him with a nasty, brutal combination, and Islam succumbs to the pressure of Jack Della Maddalena. Now, am I rooting for Islam Makhachev? Of course I am. I think it's much better for the sport if Islam Makhachev wins and becomes welterweight champion. It starts a lot of really fun discussions and it's much better for growing the sport. But with that being said, do I think Islam Makhachev is going to win? No, not at all. I think he's going to get fucked up badly, and I think he's going to get finished. Just because of the non-stop combination punching, never really pushing himself out of position, the non-stop level change feints, the great lateral movement. Of course, Jack has great takedown defense. The clinch work from Jack Della Maddalena. Not saying Islam's clinch work is bad. Islam's clinch work is some of the best parts of his game. It's just not enough. I think that Jack is going to be longer, and hitting harder is going to really, really show itself when the fight starts to get a little scrappy. And when Islam starts to get scrappy, that fundamental technique starts to disappear a little bit, and you start to see. I mean, even in the fight with Poirier, when Poirier was moving forward and swinging at him, Poirier was landing really big shots, and Islam's takedowns were nowhere near as effective because they're coming off of his back foot. Jack can do that, but way better. Jack is better than Dustin Poirier. He's not greater than Dustin Poirier, but technique for technique, Jack Della Maddalena has better footwork, much better boxing, and you can say similar levels of takedown defense. Now you add that with more power and a longer reach, and this is going to be a bad night at the office for Islam Makhachev. Thank you for listening to everything I had to say. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you disagree. I read all of them. And have a nice night.